Hey, just wanted to do a little walk around video of my 1989 Africa Twin RD03 XRV650. This is a Austrian model. I imported it directly from Austria a couple years ago. It originated in Austria, so it was originally sold there. The Austrian model, the only thing somewhat unique about it, though other European countries had the same thing, is it was restricted in terms of the horsepower output. As far as I know, all they did is they kind of restricted the air intake slightly, the boots between the airbox and the carbs. So usually when people bought it in 1989, first thing they did was they took the tank off and cut those out. There was no real way of measuring it. But otherwise, this has been de-restricted long ago. Probably be harder to find a restricted one than a de-restricted one. Paint on this, unfortunately, although very good, it's not original. Certain ways to tell if the paint's original or not. An easy one is if you look at the sticker here, these are individual letters stickered on. You can just feel it. Now the original fairings, this is one sticker that says Honda, and then you can feel an outline that goes around the whole thing. So actually, ironically, this looks probably better than the original does. But I do have original side panels for it. And I've just been slowly collecting original panels. Same thing back here. These are individual letters printed on. Looks great. The paint looks phenomenal. It looks factory. But the difference is, again, on the original ones, this is one sticker that says Adventure Sports. And I have original rear panels as well. And then the telltale sign on the nose cowl here for the paint not being right is this red should be circular, or I guess an oval, or would it be trapezoid? I'm not too sure, but you should be able to see some white right here. It's kind of standalone red spot rather than a line. It looks fine as is. I think it looks great. I'm not really too concerned about it. These are quite difficult to get, the original hand guards. These are aftermarket weights, actually super high end bar end weights that I put on, but you can actually still buy the original ones. Honda used so many parts on so many of their bikes that a lot of parts are actually still easy to get right from Honda, or there's aftermarket available. Taking a look at the dash here. It's a very typical late 80s high-end Honda dash, although it doesn't look that high-end. They just kind of stuck the instrument lights here in a box, but that's what they did with their higher-end bikes back then. I believe the NSR would have that. Obviously the CBR RRs have that. Maybe a couple others, but I'm not too sure. But like, they're higher-end bikes. So speaking of HRC, is this a true HRC bike? I don't know, the jury's out. Some official sources say this is an HRC bike, but it's hard to say. Is it HRC in the sense of that the NSR 400R is an HRC? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. Because the engine itself is, used in quite a few other Honda bikes. Of course, the Honda 650 engine, in North America, most commonly used in the Hawk GT. It's a phenomenal engine. It's pretty much why I bought the bike, because I had a PDO6 Transalp. Apparently the first one in Canada is the one that I owned and sold. Just a phenomenal engine. It's a high revving V-twin. There's nothing better than it. And right now, the only other company I know that really makes it is KTM's with their LC8, which I have a Super Enduro as well. Of course, it's missing the plastic grill on the front here. A lot of people took them off because it looked real dorky, or maybe they broke. I'm not too sure, but hard to find, if not impossible to find. There's reproductions available. Rear rack has been painted white. Again, super common. A lot of people did that. It should be more of a silver color, which I don't know why Honda didn't make it white in the first place. It looks more natural white, but anyway, I might get it repainted. I might not. Suspension's great on these bikes. I got the D606 on the back here because I'm doing a little bit of off-road stuff with it. Yeah, it was a tire I had laying around. I threw it on there. I'd probably put something slightly more road-oriented on it, just to make it a little bit more smooth. It's quite a smooth bike. It's a bit vibey. It's a V-twin, but that's what I like about it. You know, it's not like a K75 or something. It's got beautiful gold rims in good condition. A lot of these rims rotted away, so it's hard to find them in good condition, and these ones are in phenomenal condition, really, so I want to keep them that way. Great brakes on this bike. As you can see, aftermarket exhaust, again, very common on these bikes. The original exhausts rotted out on almost all of them, really. It's really hard to find them with well, it's not really hard. Ones that were ridden, it's hard to find with original exhausts, or ones that weren't in, you know, the southern Mediterranean. So the southern French ones, you know, the Italian ones, the Spanish ones, the Greek ones, those ones will have often original exhaust, but anything north will not. But I've been thinking about putting an arrow on this one just to make it look a little bit better. But this one sounds great. I just don't love the look of it. It kind of clashes a little bit with the look of the bike. These often end up in really rough shape. You can still get them new from Honda. The Honda charges like $100 each. It's crazy. So I'm just going to leave them. And it's hard to find aftermarket ones that look right. Tank's been repainted. You can see I have I put these 3M film on here. You can remove it. It doesn't affect the paint at all. Just because I put a tank bag on it sometimes. I just don't want to scratch up the paint. For my other bikes, I don't care. I let it rub all over and whatever. But yeah, it's, you know, it's a fairly original. It's fairly original. Especially when you factor in that I have a lot of the original panels as well, just sitting on a shelf and in really good condition. Let's start her up. This would be a hot start. Just got off the highway. And this is where they often run temperature-wise, maybe a couple millimeters above that. Just a nice sounding bike. Really nice sounding bike. And one of the previous owners installed this this switch on here. I don't know why. You can kind of start to tell because of the lighting, but it's a little switch here, and then that makes it turns off this one light. And I don't know why it does that, but it's kind of I'm not going to remove it. It's kind of a neat function, but don't really need it. I usually just run it with both on. But you know, like Honda, pretty much everything works on it. But also like Honda, one thing that doesn't work is the thermistor fuel sensor light. So there's a half tank done light, and then there's a low light, and only the low light works on it. And that was after I replaced it because they're quite expensive, and I don't really need it. You don't want to trust them anyway. I took the carbs apart and looked at the plugs and everything not long ago. And The plugs looked phenomenal. I did a trip across Canada last year. A lot of highway, but you know, some slow stuff, and then even some stop and go in Vancouver. And the plugs looked, I've never seen plugs look so good. Especially considering it's a, you know, it's a 35-year-old bike. Yeah, in terms of issues with the bike, you know, besides the paint, which looks great, but it's not original, so it's kind of it's always going to be there, bit of a nagging thing. But I don't mind it, because then you don't worry about riding it too much. Like I had crash bars on this, I took them off, you know, put it that way, because I'm like, whatever, you know, it's not the original paint. I put the original painted ones on the shelf, and that's where they're gonna stay. And even when I was transporting once, my TZR fell against this and rubbed on it in an enclosed trailer, and I didn't realize for a couple 100 kilometers. TZR actually zero damage on it besides the brake lever, just rubbed here the whole time. But luckily, again, not the original paint, so I didn't really mind that much. Original handlebars, which are nice. Some rubbing because somebody, or actually, well, the bike came with handguards, but I took them off just because I'm not doing very much off-roading right now. But if I were to, I'd bring them. And I took off the original mirrors, put them on a shelf. These are aftermarket mirrors in the same style. I just don't want to break an original Honda mirror. They're quite hard and expensive to get. And I put on a stainless brake line. Didn't really need it. Don't really like the look of it. Doesn't really help braking that much. Not a significant difference, in my opinion. It's kind of a waste of time and money when I did it. But I obviously kept the original, put it on the shelf because it was in good condition. I'll probably put it back on, actually, because, you know, it fit better and looked better. I think I got the stock gearing on this, I forget, which is actually a slightly lower gearing than the 750. So this actually has a smaller engine and lower gearing. So it actually is, it's a revier, peppier, a little bit more vibey of a bike than the 750. But that's why I bought it, because it's more fun. It's definitely more fun like that. It's a more fun bike than the 750, and a lot you'll read online and you'll hear it. And I even found an original spare rim too that I have on the shelf for the front, just in case if I'm ever off-roading and I bend it or something like that, I want to keep the spare one on the shelf. And that came from southern Italy too, so it's in perfect condition. Yeah, well, that's about all she wrote about this bike.